Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional with a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, I thought we were going to be able to have a celebration or something. And so it's far be it from that on this special show. We're having an open discussion about what had happened. What happened last Tuesday? What had happened? Listen, I'm trying to make light of it, but it really isn't light. My heart is heavy, as are many of us, very frustrated and feeling like something is amiss with this whole election situation. Many of us feel deeply dismayed and in shock. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Let me say that up front, that I am not. However, I do feel like something is just really off. I don't know how somebody loses the popular vote two election cycles, presidential cycles, and all of a sudden they win that and more when a billionaire gets involved and a tech giant gets involved. I don't know. Maybe you know something I don't. I don't know. Clearly, I do recall hearing Trump say that he had all of the votes. He wasn't worried about votes. I also heard him say that he and Speaker Johnson had a secret and that after the election, they would let us know what that secret was. So who knows? But I've got a bunch of people tonight that want to talk about what happened, what their theories are, how they're feeling. And if nothing else, we know that we need to get busy and think about how we're going to take care of us in the aftermath of all of this, right? So let me bring up first, I'm going to bring you up in order. Let's see, Clyde Allen, are you there? There he is. Clyde, tell us who you are and where you located.
How you doing? I'm Clyde Allen. I'm a sandwich shop owner in Detroit, Michigan.
All right. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. All right. Next, we have Marcia Brown Williams. Marcia.
Hi. Excuse me for my bandana, but my hair had hat hair, and so I put on the scarf. My name is Marcia Brown Williams. Just want to let you guys know also, too, I graduated from an HBCU Spelman, and I was a former teacher. Now I'm a housing counselor. I was a teacher for about 32 years.
And where are you from?
I beg your pardon? And I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay, great. Welcome to the show, Marcia.
Thank you.
Keep your camera on. Okay, next we have Latrice Davis. Latrice, tell us a little bit about where you live and what you do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Latrice Davis. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I now live in Queens. I'm a longtime news consumer, former journalist, and now I am a civil service worker who works in the field of law.
All right. Next, we have Johnny Morant. Johnny, tell us who you are.
Hey, Pam. My name is Johnny Morant Jr. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a cybersecurity architect, a son, husband, father, and I'm also a member of the ADOS Advocacy Foundation and a member of the ADOS Advocacy Foundation, North Carolina State Chapter.
Okay. Tell us what ADOS stands for.
American Descendants of Slavery.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And we have here Lee Young, Dr. Lee Young.
Hello, how is everyone? I am Dr. Lee Young. I am an educator here in the near the St. Louis area, teach, and I am a program coordinator for incoming freshmen. And I am putting this in because I'm trying to avoid the football game. I mean, it's getting ready to come on. So I'm like, I am sacrificing, making that sacrifice because Houston is playing Detroit tonight. So
Oh,
You know,
that's what Clyde
Yeah.
told me.
Yeah.
I am a politics junkie, but I'm also a sports junkie and a music junkie. So I have all of those going on.
Okay. Okay. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Young. And we have Renee Shalk. Renee, tell us where you are and what you do.
Hey everyone, I'm in New York City currently, but prior to relocating back to New York City where I grew up, I lived in Texas for over 10 years. I ran for a political seat in Texas. In 2022, was not successful, and once that was over, I decided that I was going to move back to New York City because I felt like Texas was going to take more than 10 years to become a little bit pink. And so, and I have small children, so I decided to relocate for my girls and my son so that I can go ahead and give them a safe space. But what I do now is I'm a doula and also a political wonk, and I manage and run many Facebook pages, and I've worked with candidates on their elections, Democratic candidates, and so that's what I'm working on now. Sorry, one of my children now is walking in, so thank you, everybody.
Mother of triplets. Okay.
Oh wow.
Let's get right into it. Take no hesitation to get going. Who wants to go first? Clyde.
I am happy to take that baton.
Okay. Okay, Latrice.
So first things first, I was sad but not surprised by the outcome. I voted for Harris on October 26th, which is the first day of early voting here in New York. At the same time, I was mentally prepared for what ultimately came to pass for reasons I've discussed on the show before. The funny thing is, when I went to work on Wednesday, it was very quiet. Like, nobody broached the subject. It was like, it just went unspoken, which I found interesting. I think, and I've discussed this before with you, Pam, how I definitely suspect some of my coworkers are Trump supporters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any proof of that, but you know, like James Baldwin said, I can't believe what you said because I see what you do and I see how some people move. So same thing for my neighbors. You know, one of the things I often bring up on the show is how New York is not as liberal as some people would like to think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think given that Harris lost all 7 battleground states,
Mm-hmm.
and my oldest brother lives in Florida, and Florida is pretty much red now. And it's just, we're in for a bumpy ride, but we're going to persevere because that's what Black women do best. We put one foot in front of the other and we keep it moving. So am I nervous about what lies ahead? Sure I am. But we're still going to be standing. Like, we're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere anyway. Thank you.
What are we doing? Clyde, what's good? What's up?
Nothing. I'm excuse my appearance. I don't usually wear a beard, but I'm in my Al Gore hanging Chad space right now. I don't know what's going on, y'all. It's a hot mess. I'm, as Pam said, I am not a conspiracy theorist, but considering the momentum that Harris had, it's kind of hard to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching all the newspapers pull their stuff back, I'm like, hey, how did y'all know in advance? You know what I'm saying? I just don't know how to explain it. Mm-hmm. And the flip side of that is I don't know what's ahead of us. Because if he's got the Senate, he's got the judges, he's president, and if he gets the House of Representatives, that's it. What's next?
I don't know. Dr. Young, since you want to hurry up with your football
game. Well, you know, similar to Latrice, first of all, I was supposed to go to campus this past Wednesday day, and I just stayed home. I just stayed home. I said, you know, fortunately we have a small office. I told my coworker, I said, look, I'm working from home today. I'm just working from home today. I can't do today. I just cannot.
Uh-huh.
But then that evening I taught and I told my students, because I know what always works for me is journaling. And I gave them an assignment. It was extra credit because I know sometimes some people, all students aren't feeling politics, etc. So I gave them an assignment. If they wanted to, they could write about how they were feeling pre-election, post-election, and then choose a song, a quote, or a poem that they feel speaks to how they're going to cope with how they're feeling. And I introduced two of my songs because I have an eclectic taste in music. The extreme of gospel, Ty Tribbett's "We're Gonna Be All Right." I told them, I said, we're going to be all right. I lived as an undergraduate through the Reaganomics. I still graduated, still went through financial aid, all of those threats and everything. And then Eminem's, Clyde will appreciate that. His homeboy from Detroit, Eminem's Not Afraid. I told him, I said, you cannot be afraid at this point. It's easier said than done, of course, but being of a certain age, I told them too that we will get through this. We're going to develop that spirit of resilience that our ancestors have. And we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And I also have a few LGBTQIA students who are going to be adversely impacted. And the sad thing is this, and this is another reason I feel as to why he won, because a lot of these voters, including adults, are low and what's the word I want to say? Not low income, but low information voters. They hardly any of them knew about Project 2025.
As much as we talked about it, but a lot of people don't watch news.
So a lot of them didn't know about that. So therefore, they didn't know the impact that it was going to have on them. And then I'm sure, I don't know if you all saw in the news, I think within the next day or so, the impact that his winning, I'm using winning in quotes intentionally, because to me, in my mind, she's going to be my she's going to be my president-elect in my mind, but nevertheless, all of those billionaires got wealthier overnight.
Of course they did.
Overnight.
Yes.
At the expense of these poorly educated, as he called them back in 2015, voters.
Yeah.
They vote against their own economic interest.
Right.
Again.
Well, if you're not very well read, or not, you don't even have to be that well read. If you're not knowledgeable about anything, it's very hard to to fully understand what's going on. I have somebody in the backstage that just came on. I'm gonna pull him up, Dr. Martin Pratt. There he is. How you doing? You're on mute. Yeah,
sorry.
unmute.
Sorry. I said I'm doing good. To be surrounded by beautiful Black people is a blessed day.
All right. I got to tell y'all a little backstory about me and Martin. We met literally, it has to be well over a decade ago on Twitter.
Yep.
On Twitter, reconnected again on LinkedIn, and now he's on the show. So this is hilarious. Who wants to go next? I'm gonna get Johnny. You go next.
Okay. For me, the Democratic Party is coming to a crossroads. They have to figure out what they're going to do, because the last time that they lost this badly was with Walter Mondale, and after that that huge loss, the Democratic Party went hard right, and we saw that hard right turn with Bill Clinton and all the policies that Bill Clinton put into place once he came into office, in supporting all of these Republican initiatives. And now we're looking at that same thing potentially happening again. And we saw a little bit of that going on in the Harris campaign, when you saw the Liz Cheneys, the Dick Cheneys, and all this Republican support coming into the Democratic Party. So we have to pay attention to what's going on within the party itself. And we, as the Black community and the biggest and strongest supporting portion of the party, need to let them know that that is not the direction that we want to go in. And for the Black community as a whole, and representing ADOS here, we have to come together. We can't be turning on each other. We have to, instead of turning on each other, we need to turn to each other.
Right.
And there's been a lot of commentary going on where there's been a lot of people trying to place blame, whether it's on Black men or just Black people in general. But we have to look at these exit polls, see who voted what way. And then we have to look at who needs to be held accountable outside of our group, inside of our group, but we need to talk to each other first to get an understanding of what went wrong. And also within the Democratic Party, they have to be willing to listen to what we have to say. And when we get access to the controls and the people that are hosting power, we have to be able to bring an agenda forward for our people. If we don't bring an agenda forward for our people, then they're going to dictate to us what needs to be done, and we can't have that anymore.
Marcia, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm so sorry, guys. I worked on Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. Now, I was donating to President Biden's campaign when he first announced that he was going to run again, because I just thought Joe Biden was a far better candidate than that orange guy. So, but now I have to say this. Biden was always a centrist. He was never what you would call a lefty in regards to the Democratic Party. And that was one of the things that got people to look at him and to vote for him in 2020. The same thing occurred with Vice President Kamala Harris. She wasn't what you would call a left person in regards to politics. She was more of a centrist. Now, if you're talking about the left in regards to the political mindset on how people voted, you can't get more right than Donald Trump. And they got who they wanted. So if they were looking for two Donald Trumps to run in this election, that was not going to ever happen, because we had a person who was qualified, who could get the job done, who people appreciated, who liked her. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a lot of time in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana. Now, I knew Indiana was a lost cause, but Michigan and Wisconsin, we just knew we had that in hand. We just knew we had that, because those people seemed very eager and enthusiastic about her as a candidate. And I walked for hours upon hours in both of those states on numerous occasions, not to mention the fact that I was making phone calls in North Carolina, like that was my hometown. I lived there somewhere. And I made a lot of calls to Texas. I was kind of hoping that Texas would kind of come out, but see, Texas, those people have been beaten down. So they had 7 million people who did not vote in the state of Texas. 7 million
Wow.
people.
In that state alone.
They didn't vote.
Right.
They did not vote.
Right.
Marcia, I have a question for you. Michael Moore, the documentary filmmaker, he had said in the before that like the Detroit area is Democratic, but once you leave Detroit, and especially if you go to the Upper Peninsula area, that is basically Trump country. Did you find that to be the case?
Well, Clyde is from Detroit.
Absolutely. The majority of surrounding areas, except for Oakland County, are mostly red. Here in Wayne County, we're blue, but unfortunately, and that's the majority of the surrounding counties are all red, including the Upper Peninsula.
But more of the people who are registered to vote in the state of Michigan are Democrats. See, that's the problem I'm having.
But 900,000 didn't vote.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. And we were in Michigan, and we were trying to get people to make sure they came out to vote, because we said, if you don't vote, you won't make a difference. You will make a difference in getting him elected. So we're thinking, we're preaching, making sure people understand that their vote made a difference. And then come to find out the only Midwestern state that voted for her was Illinois, my state. That was it. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And so that was heartbreaking. Now
all the Republicans in Michigan turned out.
Can I chime in right quick about Michigan, because Michigan, you had the whole thing with the Arabs and
with the Arabs, yes, that's
right. And that became a big issue in the area, and you had a lot of people that said they were just not going to vote for Kamala Harris because of that reason, because they wanted her to do something about what was going on
Yeah.
in Israel, and
That's part of the 900,000.
But
right.
they decided to vote for the guy who wanted the Muslim ban and
Oh,
who's now
okay,
still advocating
hold
a
on,
Muslim
Marcia.
ban.
Hold on,
And
hold on.
so
The
They just
problem.
didn't vote.
you
Marcia,
gotta
let Marcia, let him finish.
best thing to do,
Marcia,
ban or what's going on in Gaza that she had nothing to do with. She
Marcia,
is vice, not
let-
the president.
okay,
So
let us finish each other's conversations before we interject. Okay.
right. So
So
the problem is, Vice President Harris came out early and said that she was in the room when every major decision was being made. And then she also came out and said that she's going to back Israel, but also try to find a solution to end the war.
Yeah.
Now, while all this is going on, we still have all the people that are being killed over there. These are people's family members that are being killed under the current administration. And
That's
if you take credit for being part of the administration and being in the room when this stuff is occurring, you're going to be held accountable for that as well. And we can feel however we want to feel about it, but unless it's our family members or somebody else that's being killed, we can't say that they're wrong.
That's true.
I'm
I want
Can I interject for a minute?
Hold. I want Martin Frank to say something because he's the only one who hasn't spoken yet. Somebody
Well,
put
I haven't spoken. Hi.
Here's Martin Pratt.
Sure.
Please.
I will always say I will let I want a black woman to go before me. So Renee said she had a chance to speak either. So I'll always defer to my sisters first.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I'm going to say about the Gaza situation, it wasn't just that Kamala Harris was attached to the Biden administration and whatever went on along with that. But one of the criticism I had of her campaign and what she did, because I think she did a spectacular job, was the fact that she had not one Palestinian speak at the DNC convention. Not one. She gave Jewish people a chance to speak. She gave everybody else, but all they asked was, could we have one speaker? And somebody in the campaign dropped the ball on that one. And when they found out that how the Palestinian voters in Michigan felt about that, there was another opportunity for her campaign to invite a Palestinian speaker, somebody that is trusted, who's a Democrat. And she didn't invite them for that either, because I think the calculation of the campaign was, we'll make it up with white women. And white women let us down again. So thank you for letting me speak, brother. And I'm going to let you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say one thing about, I think that I haven't heard anybody bring up that I'm going to hold accountable for the next 4 years, or at least the next 2 years until midterms, is the media, the mainstream media, and the Black organization media. He should have never been platformed at NABJ, and I would stand toe-to-toe to any Black journalist that's in leadership. We have never had, think about John McCain, or think about Mitt Romney. I ain't have none of them idiots, on the stage. And I say idiots respectfully, because they actually stood up against Trump. You're going to have this orange dude on the stage. And then to me, also, they let the sisters stand toe-to-toe to him, and there was no male Black, backing them up as backup. I'm not saying it's a woman nominee, so I definitely think women should take the lead. But at the same time, they should have a brother up there just to smack him down a little bit, And
the brother did smack him down in the background.
Yeah, I know. Roland was there. I know, but I'm saying on the stage.
Not Roland. It was not Roland. It was the president. There's a whole backstory to the NABJ situation.
Well, I'm talking about perception. We just talked about the Palestinian and the Gaza thing.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm holding the media accountable for is Bob Woodward coming out the day of the election saying that vice president did stand up to Netanyahu. She embarrassed him. And allegedly, according to him, Netanyahu told Trump that he didn't want her as a president. He don't like her. Mm-hmm. So if Bob Woodward had said that in October, perception would have been a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. But the media in general, to me, has dropped the ball, and it's opened up an opportunity for media like this show to be able to be on the top, because people are not trusting at all, and for good reason, mainstream media.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Something. Yeah, I've got one person that is he's taking his mom to the hospital, and he's come on late. Let me add Terry to the show.
Terry, hey everybody.
Hey Terry, tell us where you're from. You were supposed to be on earlier, but you couldn't make it.
Well, I'm living in a blue space in a red area. I'm in Texas. How are you?
We're okay. I know you've been listening in, so just jump in.
Well, I just wanted to say some things that you've already said, but I want us to remember two things. We're barking up the wrong tree. It's not about media. It's not about leadership. The American people voted. So we have to be understanding that messages may not have resonated with Joe America. And I don't want to say that the regular voter is not an educated voter. They're just simplistic. And we have to have a simple message to make a vote. And it's all going to be emotional. It's going to appeal to their needs, their losses, or their fears. And that may have been it. But I want to stop and remind the world and everybody else. VP Harris did a fantastic job for 100 days to go up against someone who's been running for president for 8 years. Okay, and her mobilization, her messaging, her responses. I even like the way she literally used nonverbal profanity to address the other candidate in the debate. She did a fantastic job 100 years. She mobilized a group of people that we've never seen before, but we were disappointed by, and you know, we some of us drank that Kool-Aid. Talking about black men for Kamala. Well, black men who don't want for Trump, who didn't want Kamala. Well, the numbers just proved us wrong. Black people were the majority of black people were for the Democrats, and they were for the VP Harris. So we have got to not allow the media to run our game and not to run our station, but for us to be criticizing leadership, criticizing points. No, we have to take a look in the mirror. You know, I charged the Democratic Party with what Deval Patrick once charged them with during the Obama administration. Get a backbone, get a strategy, have a plan. The other party had a 12-year plan in there, and you're 10 of it, and it's working. So, you know, if you're going to have alignment with the other party, the Democratic Party, then we need a party with a background, a strategy, and a plan, and a reward and compensation system in terms of how we advance. The only other thing is we have to give a look at the fact that what we've gotten, I mean, this is a litmus test in white privilege, period. There's nobody on this call could run for office with a felony, sexual offenses. Let me go down the list. We never would have made it past the primary. So this is a litmus test of white privilege. Say what again?
We wouldn't have made it to the primary, let alone past it.
Right, and wouldn't have raised not 15 cents. Okay, and so we have to be, as a culture of people, we have to be conscious. I'm looking at the companies that gave millions to this future president. You know, I'm saying, well, I stick and move. I think I'll stop using it. You know, the sandwich place, stop using it. We are a $1.21 trillion enterprise as people of color. Our money can change the mindset of who we can do. But we have to think like a culture of people that have some level of solidarity, and we don't. We individualize it. So I think Kamala should have not focused on the abortion. It kind of scared the traditional white folks. I think that we didn't address this issue. Or she the swing state. No, we have to think like a monolithic culture that has diversity within it. But at some point, we got to do like we did in Boycott in Montgomery. No matter how many different values we had, we shut down that bus system. And if we had a mindset of self, we never would have got back on the bus. We would have created a national transit system based on the Montgomery example. So our mindset has to change. And please, we have to stop people and look at those 77 million people who have embraced white privilege. And I tell you, I told this to Pam on the phone earlier. I'm certain that some of us blue card Democrats who were of the other culture, race, voted white at that top of the ticket because they are preserving their own kind. And we need to be just as conscious of us coming to the table in solidarity with our diversity, with our differences, with our value differences, and still come out on top saying we're doing this for the culture. And the biggest challenge we have right now, Pam, is that we have lost our cultural memory and we need to regain it. And people are saying, what's going to happen to the democracy? The fight's not over. We just didn't win that race. We can fight this. We can stop. The states can stop anything from going in there. Anybody's going to try to push back on medical rights, human rights. Anybody's going to push back. We have the power to do it. And at the time when we find someone who's not supporting us, the elections for the president is in 4 years, but the election for the other people is in 2 years. Let's get rid of them.
Right, exactly.
That's my 20 cents.
Okay.
To say too, in regards to the Palestinian situation in Gaza as well. And a lot of people in Illinois especially were very pro-Palestinians, and yet they voted for Kamala Harris because, like I was telling somebody, what happened in France. The people in France are not that in love with their prime minister. They're really not. But see, they saw the lesser of two evils, and they decided to keep him dead because the woman who was running against him was a straight up fool. She was Trump part 2. And they decided to go with the guy who could think rational and was rational instead of somebody who wanted to be a pseudo dictator. We got a dictator now. This guy
But therein lies the problem, Marcia. Like the phrase you just used, lesser of two evils. That is not a government. And
no.
And I applaud Harris and the campaign she ran and everything.
No.
One of the questions.
I don't want to say it like that. What I'm trying to say is they did that because they weren't in love with him, but they saw what was going to be in front of them if they had elected her. Now, we had a stellar candidate in Kamala Harris. We had a stellar candidate. She wasn't pitch perfect, but she was close to it. And yet people thought the guy who got convicted for 34 felony counts, who owes a woman $90 million for sexual assault, who owes a state $500 million, should be the one who should be the leader of our country. And like I said, a lot of people might have lied to us as we travel in those states and stay in those states for hours upon hours, talking to people, calling people, making sure we got the data straight in regards to who was the registered voters in each of those states, to know exactly who we need to contact and who we know will be able to give her what she needed, to be totally disappointed. Because like I said, there are more Democrats registered in the state of Detroit. I mean, Michigan.
But
I think with a lot of Americans.
Can I chime in here for a minute, Pam? Can I chime in for a minute?
Who was it that was just talking?
This is Renee. Can I chime in for a minute?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so what I want to say is, I'm not on board with these results and these statistics. That's something I studied in school. I can say it's not a shock that she lost. It's a shock by how she lost. You can't tell me she underperformed in every damn county. You cannot tell me that.
That's right.
You cannot, especially in black counties. She underperformed from Biden in black counties. You can't tell me that's the thing. My idea is that there is something that was rigged, that even they were never going to flip New York or California, because that would be suspicious. Why would we flip New York and California? People would be like, oh, something is up. They cut her popular vote so that we don't have shit to say about the popular vote with him winning this time. So what they did was they went into the blue states. Somehow she underperformed in black counties. No. I don't believe it. And so that drove up his popular count. Okay, so let's go to the swing state. She lost all 7. I'm not feeling this. I don't believe it. I don't feel comfortable with this. But this is what the Dems do. What the Dems do is that we're never going to make a fight. We're never going to say anything about it. We're going to go along with the bullshit. And so he's going to be in office. We might find out about it 20 years later when all of us are dead, but we're not. But what they're going to do is they're not going to make a scene. Not like
But I think they need
Trump was
to.
like, I'm contesting every damn thing. And
You have to stop being so soft. I need
I'm
more
sorry,
Malcolm and less Martin.
I'm going to finish this last point. I'm going to let everybody have the word. I'm sorry. Because I'm passionate about it. I do statistics. That's what I studied at Columbia University. So I don't feel comfortable with these numbers. I'm just going to tell you that. But this is what I'm going to do. I took my 12 hours as a Black woman to grieve. I'm over it and I'm pissed now. So what I'm doing is forming underground groups to help our people get through this first. It ain't gonna take long for it to collapse. It'll be 6 months to a year. It ain't gonna be 2 years. I'm organizing. I'm forming services and resources for our people to survive this until this shit collapses, because it's going to. We got 3 months for Biden to fortify this government to get us to January when all of it's going to happen. So that's what I do. So yeah, I can't do anything about if they cheated. Right. The government.
Well, here's the thing, Renee, and I've mentioned this before.
Latrice, Clyde, you guys are jumping and stuff. Clyde, go.
Okay, what I need from the Democrats is more Malcolm and less Martin. That's exactly what I need from the Democrats. They are hitting us with rocks. They are cussing us out every day, and we just sitting around like, oh, okay. No, you want to be appropriate. Damn being appropriate. It's time to get nasty like they nasty. Mm-hmm. If we don't, we ain't going to get nothing. It's a wrap for us. Okay. Unless we get in the ring with them where they are, it's a wrap for us, baby. Because right now, they got all the control. They got control of everything.
Well, I have a question for you, Clyde. Who do you see in the Democratic Party taking that mantle? Oh, Malcolm.
I do not see anybody. Who's going to save us? Ain't nobody to save. Ain't nobody
and that's what I want to speak to.
Ourselves.
Okay. If you don't get another chance to vote, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you don't get another chance to vote? Anybody got any answers?
I'll be honest, I do not have any answer to that, Clyde, but
he already told his people, y'all don't have to worry about voting no more.
He did say that.
Why do you think the head of the newspapers didn't do
endorse?
That for endorse. Thank you.
Corporate,
because I feel that they knew something ahead of time.
Yeah.
And with Elon Musk having all this technology, come on. You don't think he could rig a little something? They have to call him to talk to a space satellite.
Well, didn't you all see the article? There's an article that he used some kind of way. Again, I hate to, like you, Pam, I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but some kind of way. The implication was that he used Starlink to kind of manipulate the data, like Renee said.
It's all very possible. With AI, it's all very possible. Am I right, Martin? Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to jump back to Clyde. I think, and I know this is our first, conversation after the horrific event. Clyde brought up a really good point. What are we going to do if you don't ever have a chance to vote? So the concern, especially among those of us that listen, and I think that we first should congratulate ourselves. We are the most educated voters in America, period. Full stop. You cannot say anymore that Black people or people of African descent or whatever you want to call us in the hood are not educated when it comes to the election process, period. So stay the F out of our communities, talking to us down, come to us with, an agenda, a platform. Why? Because we have the numbers. Everybody else didn't vote. We voted at the highest rate in this particular situation. We have, when you look at our history, whether it's Jim Crow, and I know some of us hate to go back, but I'm from North Carolina. My parents are from North Carolina, and my father's from South Carolina. So I heard stories in 1970s about people who were killed to vote. Then when I moved to Philadelphia, there's a statue of a black man who was killed. He's right at City Hall because he wanted to vote. So the voting thing for me as a black person in this country at this moment isn't an issue. My issue is, can I help Clyde get to Canada if he needs to? Can I help Johnny make sure that his grandmother gets her insulin? Can I help Renee with whatever she's deciding to do on the underground scenario? And so what resources do we have to come together as a community? I don't really care about the election process at this moment. I care about what's happened to my brother or sister right next to me, and making sure that, I don't know if you ever seen this thing, but if you Google AfroNet and the word UPenn, you'll still see a list of numbers that we all use to communicate in 84, 86, 87, way before WWW. Black people communicated through a bulletin board service called AfroNet, and it's still up on Penn's website. We don't have to worry about how and what. We just have to do. And so, to answer your question, Clyde, I'm not concerned about voting. I'm concerned about to make sure that we have the survival of our community, and that not just survive, but we can thrive. I was on a call this morning with Black Canadians and Black UK people. So the UK, they've lived through this already with Brexit. They've been here, and they were part of the process to reverse Brexit. So there's a playbook already. We just have to reach out to each other, and I think we need to, I applaud us for coming together. But this will be one of the few conversations I have publicly about this.
Okay. Well, also, I do have a lot of friends and a couple of family members that are just leaving. They're going to Mexico, Paraguay. They're on the door. My sister, she's on the door. She's going to Mexico.
And she's a veteran.
Yeah, she's a veteran.
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm veteran. Yeah, absolutely. She's on the door because she says she's just tired of it. She's tired of the racism. She's tired of the Russia, not the Russia thing, the Israel thing. I mean, it's really a hot mess out there, y'all. And as I've been telling a lot of my customers come to my shop, which are a lot of older people, I'm on Obamacare. So if you got to get anything done, get it done before January the 20th. If you need any medical done, get it done before January the 20th. Because after that, all bets are off.
So, Pam, can I add to that, brother?
Yeah.
I've been posting about Social Security. If you are sitting here waiting to turn 67 to get your full Social Security, I suggest you get with a Social Security agent or your family members and rethink that, because he's probably going to raise the age. He probably won't get rid of it because it's going to be a hard one, but he'll probably raise the age to about 70, 75. P 2025 has already said that. So there we go.
Johnny?
Yep. I want to get back to accountability because we already knew that Donald Trump was going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. We knew this ever since, 2020? We knew he was going to run again. The Democratic Party had ample time to prepare. Now, one of the things that should have been done is because everybody, even though the Republicans were making light of the situation, and I think Democrats took the wrong message from it when they were showing some of the issues that were going on with Joe Biden's health. They were showing things where they were showing him falling off of a bicycle. They were making light of all these different things that were going on with him mentally and physically, but these were things that should have been taken into attention to be like, oh, there might be something actually wrong. And this was when he first got elected, he was already having some of these issues. The Democratic Party from that point, they should have started working on a contingency plan just in case. Now, what happened is we saw what looked like the Democratic Party got caught off guard when he failed in that debate. And then you had the big donors come in and say, oh, we can't have him run. We have an issue. We have a problem. And now we only have 5 months left before the election. And now they have to trot Kamala Harris out there because they don't know what to do. They don't want to lose the $300 million, even though they raised $700 million afterwards. So she was put into a tough situation. And I think personally, I think her camp should have told her, don't run, because there's no way that you can pull this off in 3 months. And the other thing with this lack of accountability.
Well, I'm gonna let you finish, Johnny. Go ahead.
Yeah, but we can't continue to not hold the party itself accountable for its failures, because we can point all we want to at what the Republican Party is doing, what Donald Trump is doing. What are we doing? What has the Democratic Party done? We have to be able to push them in a direction to where they're going to look at what the needs of their constituents are, and not just have this random platform that doesn't meet the needs of its constituents. And that's been its biggest problem. And that's why you had so many people running and going all different places, and everything looks scattered. The Republicans have Project 2025, and we don't have. Why doesn't the Democratic Party have its own version of Project 2025? Why don't we have anything like that? We don't have any type of group that's funding, supporting, and backing the Democratic Party to have a solid plan to move forward.
That's true.
Now, I read Project 2025. I read 410 pages of that incredible evil platform that they have in store for our country on how they're going to govern it. I'm going to tell you, I got incredibly depressed reading that. I had to stop reading it because it was just that incredibly heartbreaking. They don't have anything in there who's going to be uplifting, or trying to do something for.
Okay, but guess what? That starts day one. It starts day one that they get into office.
But here's the thing. I want to touch on what Johnny said, because I think when Biden was, forced out, pushed aside in late July, I think that set a dangerous precedent for the Democratic Party. Yes. And it goes to what Johnny was saying, how I think, here's the thing. We all knew Biden was old. Like, to make his age an issue now, to me, came across as disingenuous, because he was old in 2020. He was old when he served alongside Obama as his vice president in the White House. So we knew his age, back then, his age was considered an asset because he had been in the Senate forever. Now, all of a sudden, it's a liability. And
he started looking bad, baby. He started looking real bad.
Well, maybe, but again, we knew that 2020. And yet we being the people, the voters, we decided to make him the Democratic nominee, and he was able to go on to defeat Trump in 2020. Would he have beaten Trump this time around? We'll never know. We'll never know. But what I do know is, like Johnny said, we can sit there pointing fingers all we want. The bottom line is, we gotta move forward. We have to come up with our version of Project 2025, but also we gotta put one foot in front of the other and keep it moving. Because if we sit around blaming each other, that's not gonna get us anywhere. What's done is done.
Right, exactly.
You can't blame, and when it comes to blame, it's not just about, the party should have done this, or the party should have done that, or when they pulled him out or when they didn't. At the end of the day, there is something that the Republicans have always done better. And what they have always done better, I have known this since I was a little girl, is that when it's time to fall in line, they fall in line. And that is really what is at the heart of this. This isn't about when somebody pulled out and when it's didn't, because the same dirty little secret that's not a secret in the Republican Party is the same dirty little secret that the Democrats pretend that they don't, that is not an issue, which is that you just didn't want a woman president, and that is it, and that is all.
Well, so, I think honestly, racism and sexism.
Excuse me, Jonda, introduce yourself, please.
Okay.
Say your name.
I'm sorry. My name is Jonda Scott. I am an attorney here in Northern Virginia, and also a podcaster and commentator as well. My channel on YouTube is just Jonda. So hello everybody. I've been standing by and listening and got caught out traveling, so my surroundings don't look as nice as everyone else's right now. But realistically, even the people who say, well, there should have been some kind of nominating process and some kind of vetting and all of that, even if at the beginning of this, a year and a half ago, President Joe Biden said, I'm not going to run again. Who would have been the person that was best positioned, best primed to do it under any normal circumstance if they were a man? Because we wouldn't be having this conversation. It would have been their esteemed vice president that didn't have any major scandals, that has worked all over in government, that is highly educated, that was not only the attorney general of their state, but that contrary to what most people may realize, the Attorney General's office of California is second in size only to the Department of Justice itself. So this is someone who has run something akin to more than what most people do who are even senators or representatives, as an actual job. And then, of course, to be vice president of the United States. There would have been no question if she was a man or if she was a white man in particular, if they were second in line and no one would be running around talking about a vetting process or saying, well, why not have her up against somebody, some of these senators, albeit black, who had maybe only been in office for a year and they're shiny and new and everybody likes them, or you have people putting people like Wes Moore and Hakeem Jeffries and people like that because everybody's looking for the second coming of Barack Obama. Those things would not have been a discussion. We would have just said, okay, he's not running, here's the vice president, and put them in place. If this were the Republicans, nobody would be having that conversation, because what you do is you fall in line. You look at what happened even in 2016 when none of the Republicans didn't want Donald Trump as their nominee. They couldn't stand him just as much as anybody else. In fact, Donald Trump himself didn't even think he was going to be the nominee. He ran because he hated President Obama. He didn't think he was going to win presidency. He was probably more shocked than we were. But when it became apparent that he was going to become nominee, individuals who he dogged out so bad that it was incomprehensible that they would support him, they held their nose and they got in line
because they were scared of his supporters.
Yeah, but if you go back even over the history of the party, it's what they do. I'm not saying that you can't vote your own conscience and that you don't have a right to vote your own interests. I would never say that. I am simply saying that if we're going to talk about it from the party standpoint, that is what a party does. Now, if you're not going to talk about it if you're not thinking of it from a party standpoint, that's fine. But if you do, that is what a party does. You say, look, the person at the top might not be my first choice, but the overall policies of this party versus what would happen with another versus having this degenerate as a president, you know what? We do what we need to do. And I'm going to say the same thing here.
For you, Ms. Scott. I have a question for you, and I've had this discussion with Pam. Assuming that Harris won, and I've thrown this question out there on the show. If the Republicans maintained control of the House and they regained the majority in the Senate, what was her plan for governing? That question was never addressed in her 100+ days on the campaign trail. Again, I was hoping she would win, but mentally I was prepared for this outcome. And again, no president is a miracle worker. So, I didn't expect her to go into the White House waving a magic wand and everything will be all right. But here's the thing. Was racism and sexism factors in her loss? Obviously. That's a no-brainer. In my mind, you don't even have to say it, but I'm going to go on ahead on the record and put that out there. Racism and sexism were factors.
Oh,
but to say that they were the only factors,
I would never say that.
Okay. Because I was going to say, to me, saying that is short-sighted.
Right.
That was in no way what I said, but I said it is, though that is a factor. We can't pretend it's not.
And can I address something else that was said as well when you were talking about getting in line and falling in line with what the party's done? The Democratic Party has never been like that. They've always been a myriad of ideas, and then the coalition and coming together happens. And it's reached a point where we have so many issues in the United States and in our communities, and everything is diverging. And we've had some policies that haven't helped us, like mass immigration, legal and illegal, that have brought in other people from other countries. And one of the things that the Democrats thought was going to happen is that people from these other countries were going to come and vote for them, assuming that they were, just because they were brown, they were going to vote Democratic. And as we see, that didn't happen. And for a lot of the reasons, because they come from countries where they have dictators, or they have a collapsed socialist party.
But that goes to our foreign policy.
Yeah, it does.
A few dictators around the world. In fact, when the Arab Spring happened in the early 2010s, the Egyptians pretty much told us, mind our business.
And we should. We don't mind it enough. Listen, I want to take this with Zachary. Somebody mute themselves.
I'm sorry, Pam. I want to leave everybody with a positive note. The positive note I want to leave you with is that Trump is probably going to take office in January. However, guess what? The MAGAs and everybody else don't have anything to fight for anymore. They got everything they want. They're going to have to sit there, be silent, and watch the ship sink. And they're going to sit there and say, holy shit, what the hell happened? And so we're not going to have a, insurrection in 2025 because they got everything. Now what? What do? They sit here and they suffer with the rest of us. And then all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, in 2027, in 2028, we need to get Democrats in to come and save us again like they always do.
I want us to discuss what Zachary Clipper put into the chat. I thought this was good. J.D. Vance is going to use the 25th Amendment to remove Trump, give him a pardon, and then President Vance is going to do everything they want.
I can see that happening. At this point, I put nothing past the Republican Party. I mean, just in terms of rigging the votes. I mean, like you and Clyde, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I wouldn't put it past them to do that. So, I mean, I agree with Zachary's sentiment.
Well, I just want to go back to what the counselor said, that about the Republicans just falling in line. Michael Steele, the former RNC chairman, always would say that. He always said that's what they do. They just literally fall in line. But what gets me, going all the way back to when Drumpf, and I call him by his actual name, his immigrant name, because that is his immigrant name. I don't call him Trump because it's Drumpf. Anyway, I have an article I'll share with you all. But nonetheless, from the time he came down that escalator, the GOP just fell by the wayside. Mm-hmm. But going back to what Clyde said, they're scared of his supporters.
They're scared of his supporters because they're going to get physical. They will get physical.
Yeah.
They will get physical and they'll be in your face.
Exactly. What they don't understand is... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's on you now.
I was just saying what they don't understand, especially now, what they don't understand is he has immunity. They're going to go to jail, period. Full stop. They're going to go to jail if they do X, Y, and Z. But now that he has immunity, which again, I would never understand,
That's ridiculous.
But
that's absolutely ridiculous.
It's asinine.
What's going to happen to the people who were at the insurrection on January 6th? Because some of them were holding out hope that, hey, they would get a pardon from him. So now he's on his way back to the White House. Is that going to be the case?
I'm sure it is. Oh, yeah.
Everything he said he's going to do. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
That's what Maya Angelou said. You know, Maya Angelou, Hillary kept saying that during her campaign. She kept reminding us of what Maya Angelou said. You know, but she was the only one of the few who was, you know, sounding the alarm. And now you got 4-star generals and all these people, psychologists even sounding the alarm, and these people still voted for him. Something's wrong.
No, what people telling on themselves. I say all the time on social media that if somebody wants to tell on themselves, who am I to stop them? And before the pandemic, before the Great Recession, even before the millennium, a lot of people have been telling on themselves. So again, as sad as I am by this outcome, I cannot and I will not sit here and pretend to be surprised by it. It's just America showing who she really is.
Okay, well, can we get a little international real quick? So why is Putin, Xi, and Kim all getting together right now? They see it. Your boy in Israel is happy.
Oh, yeah.
Happy
he even
as
told
a
him.
lark.
And that's what I don't understand, too. He even told, you know, he was cozying up the, you know, allowing the Arabs to let them think he was saying leaning one way, but he told Netanyahu, do what you have to do. Come on. You know, again, low information voters, people who don't research, they don't read, they don't listen, whatever, you know, and that for that reason, that's why in next semester, I'm intentionally going to include media literacy in my assignments for my students.
Thank you.
They have to educate themselves.
They are listen, y'all, so much of everything that is happening now with these young people and the way they think is they have no clue about nothing.
They think Trump sent them the check.
And that's what I'm saying. And
exactly.
They think Trump sent them the check because his name was on it.
Okay. Right.
Which I think is illegal. You know, for him to have.
And I have to explain to them that he didn't even want you to get the check. But the only reason he would give you the check is if he can sign it.
But if we get back to the politics about this, that's a messaging problem. If everybody here knows that Trump didn't give anybody a check, that was Congress. Congress gave those checks. But Trump stopped it until he could get his signature on it.
Watch the news, man.
Yeah, because he had.
But it's not at this point. We already know that it's not going to be the news's responsibility to inform the people. That's going to be our responsibility now because the news and the media outlets have failed us, and they continue to fail us by lying, not putting out accurate information, putting out misinformation, putting out half information, and doing whatever it is they feel like they need to do to prop up.
But when you decimated inside, but Johnny, when you are decimated by layoffs and these owners being beholden to shareholders, again, you can't be surprised. I worked in media during the 2000s, and even then, I saw the signs of what now stands in front of us. But you're laying these news, certain markets had 2 or more newspapers. New York being one of them, Denver's another, Detroit. Others had 2 or more newspapers. Now you're lucky if you have 1. I mean, and you're not paying these journalists that much, so a lot of the institutional knowledge from these newsrooms are gone. Those people who were in their communities for years, if not decades, that knowledge is no longer there for up and coming journalists to use. And so that goes to what is my biggest pet peeve regarding this election: willful ignorance. It's one thing if you don't know any better, but Trump was in the White House for 4 years. Unless you was in a coma, you saw and heard the damage he did firsthand. So to send him back there is the epitome of not just white privilege, but of willful ignorance. And that I cannot.
You also have to realize that we're tuned in. There are a whole lot of people out there that don't tune in at all.
No, they're tuned in. They're only tuned into
my son asked me He said, where should I get, he's getting information off of social media and Facebook. I say, son, get your information from NBC, ABC, or CBS. He said, what about Fox, Dad? I said, no.
Okay.
Right. Your son is tuned in. Right. Your son is tuned
about that BBC, Al Jazeera. I mean, there are foreign news outlets that are good and top notch.
You are not.
Right. Your son is tuned in because he came to you. He came. So what we got to stop doing is we say we. Let's start separating ourselves, please. We are informed. They're not. It's not our responsibility to inform them because guess what? They wouldn't inform us. Think about black newspapers. Think about the illegality of they tried to kill us when we tried to print news. So we got it. We have to now think in terms of collective we and them. They don't have it. There it is. I agree with everybody said, get your source from this, get your source from that, get that. But honestly, if you look at white media failed white people. Black people did not fail black people. We've had these conversations in town halls, even BET. I was against BET for a number of years. Turn off Channel Zero. I don't know if anybody remembers that campaign. I marched in front of Deborah Lee's house.
Did you?
We put out Hot Ghetto Mess. I don't know if I remember that. But we had a black male conversation about voting on BET. We got this. Yeah. They didn't get this. They didn't have the information. So we need to stop putting ourselves in lockstep with them and say, what are we going to do to make sure we have the judges we need, to make sure we have in Harlem and Brooklyn, there is a group of brothers and sisters who are prepared anytime there's a natural disaster. They have their own disaster with their crew, with their walkie-talkies, with the shortwave radios, with internet that it stays up no matter what happens to Cox or to Comcast. They developed that. We need to start putting that in places like Jackson or like Camden, New Jersey. We have to start looking at what we're going to do because we vote and we vote smartly. Your son came to Dad. He didn't run to Fox. He came to you. So we got this. They don't have it and they don't care. As long as their bacon and eggs is happy, they're good.
And let me just say this too, Pam. A lot of people, even our age and even older, are not that informed in regards to the politics. They heard certain things, just like the gentleman said, in regards to social media, YouTube, or whatever else they want to listen to. You would think that they would try to pick up a paper or look at it on internet or to listen something on ABC, NBC, CBS, or MSNBC or CNN, but they don't. They listen to somebody who's going to give them comfort, and Trump gave them comfort and he gave them fear. He made us become the boogeyman, that we were going to do something horrible to them. And then he also promised them riches that he knew he could not produce. Because see, they're going to be very upset when he takes away their affordable care, health care away from them.
Marcia, this is white people? These are white older people?
Yeah. They're going to be.
Let's want to make shit clear because black older people voted. They voted right. Let's want to make sure we keep that separate.
In place. And then the interest on that tariff goes on to our grocery bills and the gas bill. And they think our gas is high now. You just wait until he puts that tariff.
Remember, we got the black tax. We've been paying high groceries. We in the hood, we pay a black tax. So again, that's not them. That's not us. That's them. They don't be paying because we've been paying at Circle K or any other gas station or package store or whatever you want to call it, bodega. We have a black tax on our community already.
Well, yeah, well, we do. But then we're going to have a tariff on the entire United States of America. That means white folks in the Appalachian.
Not our problem.
And
not our problem. We showed up.
That is our problem.
Right.
That's going to be
everybody's
problem.
Because people complaining about all this inflation and stuff. I remember when gas was 45 cents.
Find out that that's not going to be the case.
Quit playing. I remember when gas was 45 cents. Look what it is now. Inflation happens. It's going to happen for the rest of our lives. Get used to it.
I was there in the 70s. We had to stand in line for 7 hours to get 1 gallon. My father and uncle would switch cars and stay in line for 18 hours. So it's not our problem, Marcia. That's their problem. We got to focus on us now. We focused on their stuff. Where did it get us? Now we got to save ourselves. Put the mask on us first. Stop talking about white issues as if it's a collective. It's not.
Hey, family. We have never gotten something without demand.
We're part of the United States of America.
That's
And
what
let me just say this too. I taught school for a long time. I had a young guy who's 16 years old. He's Puerto Rican. And I remember when Trump won the first time, and he said in our class after we were discussing about the election, because my kids were disheartened. So this one kid said, like I said, he's Puerto Rican. He said, you know what? He's not going to make the try to see who is Mexican or who is illegal. If we look Mexican,
that's right.
Got a Spanish surname,
that's right.
You got an accent.
Grab us, and then we got to defend ourselves.
That's right.
So he said. So that whole bit about the illegal immigrants, no, his thing is to get rid of all of us. And this is a 16-year-old kid in 2016 who said that. He said that, and he was Puerto Rican. He said, so I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to be knocking on my family's door.
He's going to swoop up everybody, and they're going to sort it out later. But by the time they sort it out, it's going to be too late.
And I'm going to jump in here as a New Yorker and tell you about the Hispanic population here. New York City has already stopped funding for migrants.
Yeah, they just
as a backlash because they anticipate migrants going to get deported anyway, so we're just going to stop funding. They were getting $350 a week for food substance. They stopped it. So that money, Adams has made a decision that we're going to save it for a rainy day for the citizens that are not going to be deported. They've already had a backlash. I have a friend in Florida who told me that one of the companies there has already laid off 70 to 20,000 people in anticipation there will be no health care. It's already happening.
Audi and Volkswagen all laid off workers this week.
So
what did you say, Martin?
Nissan 4,500, Audi 9,000, and I believe Volkswagen 2,000 workers this week laid off. With it's anticipating the tariffs.
I know this.
They'll hit your pockets, then they're gonna take your medical. So that's the whole hookup. That's the whole hookup. They don't want you here no more.
Yeah. I want to chime in on this, Pam.
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Ladies, gentlemen, brothers, family. Have y'all forgot when we were colored? And we have worse conditions then than we did now, and we thrive. Not until we discovered what we call integration, but was really assimilation, did we begin to struggle for a piece of the pie. Even what Shirley Chisholm's famous words is, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring you a folding chair.
Right.
Yeah, so we have the power, the money, the economics to make sure none of this affects us. You know, we have to look at the dollars. Twitter was made famous by Black folk and Black activity. So why don't we have our own Twitter? Okay.
We need to get on fan base.
Well, all I'm saying to you, Pam, is that we have allowed a lawless man to win the presidency while we are criticizing a woman who was great, but we expect her to be flawless. There are no faults there.
I didn't
so we need to make sure that we go back to being colored. We got to go back to being colored. We build our Rosewoods. We build our Wall Streets. We build our networking systems. We create our own jobs. We create our own presence. You want to go this way? And so we have got to own what we own. We have the power. And as far as the cross-generational issues, we have some cross-generational issues that we need to fix. And know that our history is now. It's not our past or our future. It's our present. We are our history. We need to take our economic power and the knowledge and gifts that each one of you have spoken some pearls of wisdom. I want y'all at my next dinner. We need to pass that on and say, we're going to get through this. And not only we're going to get through this, but we're going to prevent it from affecting us. You know, my grandmother's Big Mama taught me a lot when I was a kid. And what she did say to me is that we will make a way out of no way. So there's no disparity. I'm not shocked by the outcome. What I am is I'm shameful that 77 million Americans are still thinking white, and they put white on the ballot instead of democracy. All right. So we have the power in our wheelhouse to build an ecosystem that prevents us from being affected by this. But we got to go back to being colored.
Now think about this: the guy in North Carolina who was running for governor.
Oh God,
he was really like Trump's acolyte. He spoke the same language. He said some of the craziest things like Trump would say at his rallies. But when they caught that he was saying things from Hitler and some other obscene things, the white folks said, "No, we can't have you."
And yet those same people turned around and voted for Trump.
He was a Democrat, and to make him the make him the governor of North Carolina. See, I always tell people, Black people don't have the same out as white folks. As bad as Trump is, and we know he's a horrible person and he should never be behind the seal of the presidency, white folks say we'd rather have him than that accomplished Black woman. And they let that Black man we'd rather have this Democratic white man to be our governor than you.
Let me ask you guys.
You know why that is
Hold
because
on, guys. Hold on. Let me bring this up. And I'm just losing what I was going to ask. You all collectively. I can't believe I forgot it because this is hard to manage when it's this many people on at one time.
Let's everybody get Pam up. Come on, y'all.
You're doing a great job. In the words of the former President George Bush, you're doing a great job.
Well, collectively, we have over, I would dare say, close to 200 plus years of good experience right here to start an ecosystem, as Dr. Allen said.
Teach. We need to own ourselves again. We need to take our copyright back. When we were colored, we had our own doctors, we had our own professional buildings, we had everything that we owned. And now we have more opportunity to keep our economic system than they did because they were lynched, they were stolen. They can't do that as quickly now. So let's go back to being colored and let's have a cross-generational. I have 14 young people working for me who are harnessing AI for my company. I've got 10 elders who are telling me what they went through to get where they're going. It's a cross-generational power system. We need to create that ecosystem, and we need to make sure that this presidency, I don't think that the bark that the current incoming president has is going to last because a lot of people are not going to tolerate it. If we have our ecosystem, there's nothing they can do to us. I was sharing something with someone. I'll be very brief, 30 seconds. I came from the haircut business. In the haircut business, most of the millionaires and billionaires are Black, but we sell our stuff to Koreans and then they sell it back to us. If we cut out the middleman, we put $55 billion back into our industry within 30 days. So we have just got to get back on our sense of self and own our own distribution ecosystems. We have intelligence, we have access, we have privilege, we have things that my ancestors didn't have. Big Mama didn't have what I got, but she gave me her wisdom. And I'm going to make sure that I don't destroy it thinking I need to be included in something that nobody wants me in.
I agree with
Pamela, hold on. Because we gotta.
Someone in the chat said we can't do this alone because there's not enough of us, and I agree. But that doesn't mean that what we need, we're gonna have to have allies. I'm just gonna say. But that doesn't mean we can't start our own. And I'm going to get back to a point that somebody said why they would pick somebody like him to stand up, because white men are mediocre. Most of them are mediocre. They don't want to compete. They have never had to compete. And now that they have to compete with people who are superior or less than mediocre, they're finding that they're not getting the same privilege that they had before. That's why this is happening.
Pamela, we can't continue to act like we're superhumans. We have to deal with the reality that we're currently living in. The wealth data in this country shows that we are a wealthless group. It's $140 trillion of wealth in this country. We make up 14% of the population. We only have 4% of that wealth in this country. We can't pretend like we got money to pull out our ass to just create all these industries and do all these different things to create our own ecosystem. they integrated us into the system to make us a part of the tax base so they can get those resources. When we were building our own ecosystems within the United States, what did they do? They either burned it down, built a highway through it, or killed us. And
That's a different time.
we live.
Different time. I put 218 business owners in the street, and in 7 months, they were all worth $70 million. Yes, we have a different thing that we can support too.
Well, all right. Show me.
There is a lot of money out. There is a lot of money out there. I know at least 3 guys under 30 that's worth about 15 million. So it's plenty of money out there.
Also, what Johnny said about wealth versus spending power is 2 different conversations. So we get that we may not have the wealth of white people. We get that, Johnny. I'm totally with you. At the point that we're at now, and we're surmising how bad things will get. At the point that we're at now, this is what we're working with. I get what you're saying about building, and I know what Dr. Allen was talking about, futurize. But right now, we can divert, which is what some Democrats are doing. On the other side, they're starting to divest themselves from any Republican-owned corporation, and that's something that we can start to do. That we have, I think we've been doing a better job at supporting Black businesses and being intentional with our money and stuff like that. I think all of us are saying is that we have the ability within our hands to take what's in our hands and be very circumspect with that. Whether that's going to end up to be 4 billion or 4 trillion, we won't know unless we do it.
I have a question for Dr. Allen, if he's still online as part of this discussion. How did Cruz get reelected?
He's gone. Y'all don't see him anymore.
He dropped off for moments.
Oh, okay. But I think even though I understand our attention is on the presidential race, but we also have to look at the down ballot races, especially the Senate, the House, the governor, mayor, what have you. We have to look at those races as well, because you mentioned, or Renee mentioned, what happened, about Mayor Adams cutting the funding for the migrants. He's up for re-election next year. Whether or not he's going to get re-elected is a whole nother conversation. But I think we have to pay attention to those races as well, because like with the Senate especially, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that Cruz got reelected after everything that happened. But
there's a great article.
Yeah, that is scary
for you to read about in Rolling Stone. I will send you the link. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn or not, but the article talks about the money behind Cruz and most of Texas. There is a billionaire who's basically devoted his entire wealth.
Herman Crow?
I believe the Christian, the ultra right Christian who thinks he's Batman. He believes that he's Batman.
Oh,
wow! I'm trying to be funny or anything. That's literally what he says, that he is a Christian Batman. And so he's devoted his whole entire.
It doesn't sound like Herman Crow, but okay.
Yeah. So Cruz. So Alred. I think he made some critical errors. I'm good friends with Sister Crockett or House Representative Crockett. Mm-hmm. He never invited her. He didn't invite any blackity black Democrats to support him in the beginning. At the end, he brought the whole tent together. But in the beginning, he tried to stay, middle, almost.
Yeah, because he has a white wife.
Yeah, right. So I don't think he was the best candidate. I think he did a good job, but I think also the money in Texas. When you read this article, you'll see how it's almost structured like a pyramid, and it just keeps growing. And so I don't know that anybody could have. I feel like that money we spent in Texas, we should have spent in Ohio, getting Senator Brown reelected.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, so I lived in Texas for 10 years and worked on political campaigns and also ran for political office. Let me tell you about Texas. Texas has more black people than any other state in America. Look it up. Texas is not necessarily a red state. It's a non-voting state. Black folks do not come out. People do not come out and vote. So let that sink in for a minute.
Why don't they come out and vote though?
It's not a red state. It's not necessarily a red state. It's a non-voting state.
I just asked, why don't people come out and vote?
That's correct. We have more black people in Texas than we do in any other state in America, and they vote the least than any
But
other
why
state
is
in
that?
America.
That's my question.
She doesn't know. She would answer.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear her because I was like, yeah, I heard everything else. I'm like, okay, well, why
Honestly,
don't they come out and vote?
what it is that, well, you got to remember Juneteenth was started in Texas because they were the last state, well, not technically the last state, but one of the last states that got notified that slavery was over. So there's a mindset that is closer to enslaved people history there in Texas than there is in many of the other states. And so because, they've been sort of enslaved after slavery longer than anybody else, they have their mindset is closer to our current history. That's all I can explain to you. I don't understand it, but I work political campaigns, and you cannot get these people to come out and vote. They might tell you they will, but they don't. The young people might tell you they will, but they don't. Some people just like it the way it is. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Thank you, though.
You guys, you know what time it is? It is 9:20.
Almost 9:30. But that means we had a really good discussion.
It's
I'm glad we have
8:30 here.
I
It's
know.
8:30 here my time. I'm on Central Time.
Okay, that's right. But listen, you guys, I have enjoyed this discussion. We probably will have a part 2. I'm planning on having the ex-MAGA granny, Pam Hemphill, back on the show. She was very interesting. She's in the red state of Idaho. She was arrested in January 6th for trespassing. She didn't do any violent stuff. In fact, she really got knocked down and had her shoulder knocked out of place. But she served time in prison for trespassing. So I'm curious to how she feels now since Trump's got reelected. And
she's a felony. She's a felon, convicted felon.
What is she, convicted felon for trespassing?
Well, she served time.
Yeah, she got a record.
Got a record. Yeah.
It's not a misdemeanor when you do federal time on federal property. You got a record.
Even though she got confused and got caught up in the crowd and swooped in.
No, she didn't say no. No, she took responsibility. She literally, I will tell you, Pam literally, she took responsibility, and she has a fascinating history about how she even got into all of this stuff. And I think she talks about it being a cult. She talks about getting caught up in that and why and stuff. She's an interesting person. I know Renee was active in that chat when she went online. Were you too, Lee? Were you on?
I wasn't.
Okay.
Johnny was first, and I have a comment too after Johnny. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But anyways, I'm going to have her and probably Dr. Pratt on. Just it should be an interesting conversation. I think I can handle 2 or 3, all of y'all at once.
I think you should pass those on back.
Good job.
Latrice, I put it in the chat.
Mark, thank you very much. Tim Dunn.
Yeah, Johnny.
Yep. Just going forward, we do need to come together and have a plan moving forward. And if you look at the adosfoundation.org website, they do have a full Black agenda that addresses the areas of agriculture, Black business, cannabis, education, criminal justice, climate change, housing, health and nutrition, infrastructure, immigration, environmental racism, and unemployment labor. And I plead with you all to just take a look at it, review it.
Can you put the link in the chat?
I already put it in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem. But just please look at it. I linked it directly to the Black agenda. Just take a look at it and review it. Thank you.
I'm sorry. There's a full YouTube that I've done on them, and that was my highest rated show was with ADOS. Because I didn't know what it was. I was learning that day. We were on for a long time, and I didn't know all those people came on there. I was like, who are these people?
Basically Black MAGA.
But that was my highest rated show. And I had been asking Johnny, I said, well, who are you guys going to endorse? What's up? What's going on or whatever? And they had a convention. Y'all had a convention in October, wasn't it?
Right, it was a reparation summit.
Okay, I knew it was something. See, I was on it. I was paying attention. But it was but if you want to, there is, if you look in my YouTube files, it's up front. You can hear the whole shebang about
Okay.
and everything. And I think their website and all that stuff is on there as well. You guys, whoever's left listening, I hope you thumbed up this video and have subscribed to my channel. Please, thank you, and please.
I just have one more thing. How many of you remember Howard Dean, former governor of Virginia?
Yeah.
I could not help but
Dean.
to go back to something that he said one morning when I was watching him on MSNBC, that the Dems need to have a 50-state strategy because that's what President Obama had, and moving forward, it really needs to evolve into something, and this is what I hope, party sustainability.
Yes.
Party sustainability, period. Open that tent as wide as you possibly can and sustain the party.
Right.
Got to. And you got to start, even though it may be a traditional red state, go in the doggone state anyway, because that's how they feel, that nobody's thinking about them. The Dems don't think about us, therefore, So, yes,
you are 100% correct.
What he said over this past week.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, let's wave off everybody. Good night. I
have a great week, y'all. Take care.
And I wish you guys share this video so that we get more people talking and thinking and ideas flowing or whatever, because we need, other than just the highfalutin pundits and people like that, they need to hear from folks in the trenches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They need to dig deeper and under. And I think that's the reason why I even started this whole YouTube thing, to hopefully to educate more and more people in some small way. So share the video, like the video, and subscribe to my channel, please. I love you and thank you. Good night, everybody.
Continue to stay safe.
Right.
Detroit losing. The Lions losing.